Hi guys, and welcome to this week's Champion Bets webinar, a walkthrough of Trevor Lawson's ratings process. Our resident Victorian form analyst is here with us tonight. Trev, welcome.
Thanks, Daniel. Thank you.
And welcome to everyone that's tuned in tonight and that is viewing the webinar either on our website or on YouTube down the track. I just want to make everyone aware tonight's webinar is fully interactive, so feel free to fire any questions in at Trev, and we will endeavour to answer them as we move along. Also tonight we are giving away a free month of our Melbourne ratings package, so stay tuned. We're going to announce the winner at the end of the webinar. Hugely popular package, Melbourne ratings, and doing really well. So look, without further ado, I'm going to hand over to you, Trev.
All right, thanks, Daniel. So what I thought I'd do tonight is just a brief little history of how myself at Champion Bets, and then I was going to just go through a race from last week that we got right, and just show you the process, and then do a race for Saturday at Flemington and see if we can find a winner. So I started in February 2016, and early on we struggled a little bit just the way to come up with the results, and so the results started getting kept in May 2016. The first week was a shocker, but generally, as I scroll down through here, it's pretty much after about 6 months and you sort of start to turn over a reasonable amount of money, it fluctuates around between 16 and 13% and 16%. It's been pretty consistent. So if I get down to, say from the start of Spring Carnival of 2016, it was sort of 17, got down to 15. Of course, it's going to drop a bit as you turn over more money. And then pretty much through there, I went down to 10 at one stage and then sort of worked its way back up to 14. So it's fairly consistent over a period. You know, I've had some good days and some bad days, but generally it's sort of pretty much even keel, and it's not too much of, I would say, rocking the boat, and it's fairly consistent. So,
Trev, just quickly, when you have those troughs, do you go back and analyse the way you're doing things, or is it just a case of sticking with the process and seeing it out?
You go back and check, mainly if you've made blatant mistakes with the ratings and you've got horses wrong. Sometimes it's just that you didn't think the horse could do this, or you thought another horse would do, could do better. And the ratings, in a general sense, are right. It's just that the way you interpret them for that race, or you might get the track wrong or something like that. Yep. Try not to get too down over the winter, because I just basically concentrate on the city meetings. Sometimes over the winter there's a few less meetings, so I do go back and just reanalyze stuff to make sure that I haven't sort of missed anything from the autumn, things like that. Yep. But no, we had a wipeout day on Anzac Day, and then was fairly consistent for the next couple of weeks after that. And then we had a big Wednesday about 2 or 3 weeks ago, which we got all plus small back from, Anzac Day, and it's been okay since then. So you just got to take it for what it is. You're not going to win all the time, and You might lose a month. Every now and then you might lose 3 months, but generally it's in sort of blocks, but generally it's pretty good overall. And at the end of the year, you've punched out a profit. So as you can see, as I go through, it's sort of generally 14, 15. This is 10. That's still get down to now. I've been here a long time. It's 14. That's through February. Dropped down back to 13, 14 again. Went to 12, and we had a couple of good weeks. And this goes till Saturday, so it's at the moment it's about 14%. So as I say, it's pretty consistent, and I've sort of been pretty happy with it. My database is a bit different to a lot of the guys who, excuse me, that you see webinars and that. I use South Coast. Excuse me, I've used this since 2005. And I get all my times from punting form, which are put into the system. I put into a database. So if I open up a horse, this is from last week. This is Lord Da Vinci in the last race. It's more than a good example. His horse Camdus, have all its runs, have comments, have benchmark ratings from them that that they provide. They have sectional times. So this horse at Flemington ran the fastest 800, the fastest 600, fastest 400, and the third fastest 200. So I can see a lot of stuff at an easy glance. I can see its individual runs, so what it did from the 10 to the 8, from the 8 to the 6, from the 6 to the 4, from the 4 to the 2. So it's a very good service they provide. They do all over Australia, but it is fairly costly, and I just get their Victorian stuff. This race, I thought I'd do last week's, the last race. We had some luck and we backed the last winner at, well, I think top float $41 and Betfair SP at about 46, and there was a bit better than that on Betfair. And I just thought I'd show you the process that I went through. It doesn't happen all the time, but it's good when it does. So it was race 9 at Moonee Valley. There's a picture of the map that I had. The rail was true and the track had a bit of give in it, and it was my understanding that the rails wouldn't be the place to be. So I had a map that had Wise Heroes drawn barrier 1 and had gone poorly first up, so it was a horse I was happy to oppose. And the horses I liked were Ash Law, who was going to race forward, Lord Da Vinci was going to race forward, and Hildy Ladd sort of had some chance. When I did the form for the race, Lord Da Vinci had won first up on the 17th of June the previous year, and on my figures, you hear a lot about figures and everything. Everybody has different starting points for their figures. The main thing is that the figures are consistent to other horses. So my rating, the horse did 62.5 on somebody else's. It might have done 46 on somebody else's. It might have done 110. It doesn't really matter. It's all the same. So this horse had done 62.5. He'd done 61 early. He had done 60.5 winning in Tassie. And he's a good fresh horse. And the trainers like to get him fit. And he was drawn sort of out to go forward. So he's a horse that I wanted to be on. So as I say, I had him going 62.5. So I like to always have something on my sleeve. So I actually put him in at 61. Now, just with this system, the rating in the ratings column that it selects is just the rating from its last 2 runs. It's just hardwired in. So then I add to that in another column. And this other column here where the number 4 is, I use a weight compression. So over shorter trips, I take more weight off. So this horse was going to carry 63 less 3, which is 60 kilos on a 54 minimum. And I'm saying I'm taking 4 off. So I'm saying that he's only going to carry, really, for me, 1/3 of his weight. So he's only going to carry 2 kilos over the minimum.
Yep.
And then I do that for each horse. So that's that column. So I put this horse in at 61. Camdus was second up. He'd won first up in Adelaide off a 308-day spell and gone 60.5. He was with Damien Lane riding him, who is their preferred rider. He'd done 60s in the past. So I thought he can't do any better than that. And with just the jockey change going back to Ethan Brown, I took half off and rated him 60, which is what he's sort of pretty much done all the time. Ash Law was a consistent horse. He'd done 60.5 at Caulfield. Wagga, I didn't actually have a rating. There's a rating there, but it's not my rating. He'd done 59s early in his last year. And he's a horse, I have a figure here in the blue, which is the rating here, 60.5. That's the rating that that according to my stuff, the market predicted the horse would rate. So the horse has always done what the market thought it would do. So I was happy to sort of put it in at 60.5. The next few I didn't like. Ladoro was going to settle back on the inside, and it had run well at Bendigo, but that was over 1,400 metres. It had 35 days off, so I was happy to sort of be hard on it in the market. Proud Wolf was the same. It was going to settle midfield inside with a 3 kilo claimer on it, so I took something off its rating. Tildy Lad had gone 57 at Morfettville, had done 55s earlier in its prep. It was actually a pretty good win, and it ran very fast time. Even though it had a 3 kilo girl on, she had ridden it a few times and won some races. So I just wasn't sure about the rating because it was 16-1 that day when it won. So I took something off for her coming first time to Melbourne, and I took something off the rating and still had it $23. So if I don't do that, I have it, $8 or something like that. Wise Hero was a 60 horse, 61 horse at its best, 60.5. But first up, I thought it was terrible. It rated 51.5 and it got beat 5.8 lengths, even though the market thought it would do 60, and it was drawn barrier 1. So I sort of wanted to oppose it. I marked it $10. When I saw that it kept getting well backed, I actually put in its best figure, which is 61, and that would have got it 5-2. Like, that's running to its absolute best. And it was still, and it was 7-4. So it was sort of like, well, I'm just happy to bet around you, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Sir Donald had run well down the straight. It had run good sectionals. You can see it had run second quickest 800, last 800, third quickest 600. Having its second start for Greg Garrell, it was a former Queensland horse. Had defied its SP because it was 100-1, but I just took something off it and had it $8. So that was my market. And originally, if I bring up race 9, so in the red figures here, that's my market. So Lord Da Vinci was about $6 in the morning, $6.50, got to $7, and then with all the money for Wise Hero here, it was express out to $11. Canvas was heavily backed, but it was like, well, I reckon I'm right with the price there, so I'm happy not to be on it. Ashlaw was $6.50, and then it got out. It actually touched $11 on Betfair. So we backed Lord Da Vinci, Ashlaw. Sir Donald was sort of $15, so we're on it at a good over as well. So then I look at the rest of the market and go, as it turns out, Suspense we saved on it got out. Ladoro, I don't want to be on. Proud Wolf, I don't want to be on. And Wise Hero, I don't want to be on, or another Coley. So because I knew in the back of my mind that I had something up my sleeve with Tildy Ladd, I marked it 23s, and at the time I was sort of 40s and 50s on Betfair. It's like, well, because the others are going to be good, they're good overs and they're good results, we'll back it as well. So instead of, generally I just save on the roughies, which I did on Suspense, and on the live page we sort of made it a full bet, and it was a very rewarding race for everybody. I think everyone likes to back a roughie, and especially when they're the last race of the day.
And for the purpose of this webinar, we were going to show the race, weren't we, mate? But we had a few technical difficulties.
Yes.
But I've got a question. I've got a question. That's okay. I've got a question here from Nigel, one of our good clients. And Nigel asks, how much weight do you put on the odds of a last start winner, i.e. Tildy Ladd? So it was 16-1 last start and won. Does that affect how you rate it? And obviously, if one can win again.
So as I explained, for all the Melbourne horses, I would have an SP rating, and I would come off. And I don't for Adelaide because it's only I didn't do the horses when they came here. And in my first market, I had it shorter, and then I looked at the market and thought, it was $51, I think, early. So I took something off the rating. So I actually, I had it returning 57, and I'm saying it's going to do 55.5. So I've put it in a length less than what it had done the start before, and still had it a bet. So I'm sort of happy to do that. So yes, I do take into account sort of the horse's SP the start before.
Yep. Awesome.
So that was the same thing with Sir Donald. So it returned 58.5, excuse me, and was 100-1. The market said it was only going to do 55. and first up the market said it was going to do 56.5, so I rated it 57.5 sort of thing. So so that was a good end to a good day. Any other questions on that?
No, we've got a couple of questions, not on that particular, but there's a couple of questions that were sent in. This one is from Jonah. Jonah asks, what percentage do you set your markets to, and do you back all the overs?
Okay, so this is it's an ongoing thing. I was doing the markets to 90%, especially on the Saturdays when the markets go out on a Wednesday. By the time they get to Saturday race day, a lot of the value's been trimmed out of them. So I was finding that, you know, you're marking a horse $3.50 and it's $3.20 or $3 and you're not betting in the race. So in the last couple of weeks, I've gone back to doing the markets to 100%. So at least then I can be on the ones that I want to be on, and then pretty much on all the overs. But if a horse is, you know, 20, if I'm on a couple of horses and the horse is 25 to 1 and I've got a 25 to 1 and it is only 25 to 1, well, I might let it go. But I'm trying to be more on betting the races that I like the setup, as opposed to, you know, I've got this horse 5 to 2 and it's 6 to 4 and so I'll back these two other horses at $10 and I've got $7, and then the 6 to 4 chance wins, and you know. So I've tried to sort of just change little things. I think it's one of the things with the sport, and that's great, is that I think you just have to keep evolving and changing. And when I first started doing this in the early 2000s, you could do a market to 85% and get good overs, you know. But now you never, because the market didn't go up until half an hour before the race. But nowadays, you know, if I did the markets 85%, you'd have one better week.
Yep.
So I have changed it in the last couple of weeks, and everybody else seems to do it to 100%. But it's, yeah, as I say, so that race 9 was, and as it turned out, if I'd done that percentage to 90%, it wouldn't have made much difference, because they were such big overs. But I just thought it's just more important to be on the ones you can be on. And then if you can be on too many, then it's just a race not to betting, as far as I'm concerned.
Mate, I've got another question in regards to Tildy Ladd. This one's from Shane. And Shane asks, so you don't have actual ratings for what Tildy Ladd was doing in Adelaide? Isn't it just guessing if you can't match up exact ratings from state to state?
No. So I do my own ratings for Sydney Saturdays and Adelaide Saturdays. So seeing the short race column here, I have figures. They're my own little formulas. So I had ratings for its previous 2 runs, 4 runs ago, and then most of the runs for the previous prep. Yeah, no, if there's a horse I don't know, like on Saturday, there's a horse of Darren Weir's having its first start from overseas, and I assume it's in the market. I would only market to the market, and if I bet in the race, I would only save on it. I wouldn't. No, I never back anything that I actually don't have, you know, my own ratings for. I'm not getting them from no. So I actually did have ratings for it. So I do. Excuse me. I do Adelaide and Sydney Saturdays.
Another one from Jonah, mate. This one is, what do you mean exactly by compress the weights?
Okay, so basically, the old adage is, one length is 1.5 kilos. So what I'm saying is that weight, I think weight's a factor, but it's not quite as big a factor as what people thought it was. So for a race sort of from 1,400 to 2,000 metres, I would take half the horse's weight, or half the horse's weight over the minimum. So it's carrying 6 kilos over, I'm saying it's only going to carry 3. And that's pretty much what the market does. And then the longer the race gets, and the more the weight's a bit of a factor. So I think most people do it. I've done it over a period of time, and I've sort of, trial and error and found what sort of works. And so I have sort of 3, I have sprint distances. I compress it to a certain weight, or a third of the weight, 1,400 to 2,000, and then the staying races, the 2,200 metre plus. The weights, I think weight's a bit more relevant. I originally did it years ago. I didn't do it, and I was talking to a very successful professional punter, and something won, it was in the market, and I said, I couldn't get it. I had it 25 to 1 or something. He goes, did you compress the weight? And so then I didn't know I asked him what he meant, and then I went and investigated it myself, and then sort of read where I could about it, and a lot of stuff. People, everyone has theories and all that, and I think there's a lot of it. You just trial and error yourself to see if it works. Some things do, some things don't. But yeah, I would expect the majority. I mean, a lot of people don't think weight's relevant at all. I think it is, but I don't think it's what it was to what the norm was, 25 years ago.
Another question from Nigel for you. Are you finding it's due to the syndicates as to why you're rating to 100%, given that you said in the past you rated to 85?
Yes and no. It's just that, they only tend to bet right at the end. It's the fact that the market went up, 4 o'clock yesterday, or 3 o'clock, Wednesday, and something might have been got up $15. That in reality is a $6 or $7 chance, and for no money, the syndicates, people snipe them and. They lay it, and the horse might come into like $6, which is it's true odds. So, whereas before this happened, back in the old days, the tote would go up if the horse was big odds on the tote. The bookies would sort of put up a bit bigger. They'd put up a market, and then the horse would be backed. Another thing happens too is now it's like a lot of the early markets, they're up, they're 135 and 139, 135 to 140%, sometimes even higher. So if you're doing a market to 100%, it's hard to be on anything at all. You've got 35% against you.
Crack on, mate. We're out of questions at the moment. I'm sure we'll get a few more through.
I thought I'd do a race for Saturday. I was trying to find a race that looked good and not too many runners, just so it was a bit of speed. But race 4 at Flemington on Saturday. There's my map. So these figures are just figures I use, but basically 29 means it's going to be midfield. So as you can see, this is sort of after they've jumped. It's a map with, to me, no natural leader. So any of Second Bought, Curragh, Lizard Island, Spanner Head, they could sort of go to the front. So the map's a little bit up in the air. I've sort of had a track report and if it rains, if there's any rain and the track's got some give, that it might be easy to sort of get a run on. So horses drawn wide mightn't be a disadvantage. It just depends whether it rains or not. So sort of got a map at the moment. I mean, this is Thursday night, so sometimes I change them a bit, but it's pretty neutral. So when I go to the first horse, so the first thing I do is do my map. Then I've put in my weight compression, and then I sort of do the form. Second Bullet is this race 1800. It's third up here. Resumed at 1800, and it went rough. It did 57. The market said it'd do 58, so it went roughly what it did. And then at next start over 2000, that was the race that they went 100 miles an hour. So you can see on punting form here, they went 12.5 lengths quicker than the average. That was the race that Boomtime walked in, and it was a brutally run race. So I basically don't worry about the rating there at all. It was second up. It got beat 7 lengths. It just wouldn't have been fit enough. He's a funny horse. He hasn't won since May last year when he walked in. The previous start that he won at Caulfield, he walked in as well. He's sort of a bit hit and miss nowadays. He does go okay at Flemington. I put him in he did 57 first up. The market said he was going to improve slightly and do 58.5. As I say, it was a brutally run race, so I can forgive him there. So I put him in at 58.5. Lizard Island is an interesting horse. He had a long time off. He had 470 days off, resumed June last year. It took a long time to get fit. Came back in February off a 3-month spell. Didn't do a lot. Went to Caulfield 3 starts ago here, and he had no luck in the straight. The margin was unfair. As you can see here, down the bottom, I've put, he settled inside. That's 4 to midfield. He railed up at the 350. He was held up from the 300. He had no luck. And I gave him 2.5 kilos, which is about 1.5 lengths. So he returned 57.5. He then went to Caulfield and won, turned 59. The market said he was going to do 56. And then last start, he took off mid-race. He led and went 15 lengths quicker, and then he pulled up with an issue, which I suppose he was probably entitled to. So he's a horse whose ratings are all over the place. He has had a big speed. It's not one of my sort of stables, so I actually put him in at 56, which is about 2 lengths off what he did when he won. Jamenza is a Waller horse who he ran honestly at Caulfield, where he's got a long way back and ran on well. He wasn't suited. And then he went to Flemington and won. He basically did his SP figure. It stays at the same distance, his home track and the same jockey. So I just left him at the same figure, 57.5. Quick Defence is the stablemate. he had been running in Sydney. He came here in March. He basically whacked away doing the same sort of figures. He ran in May, he ran to his figure. And then, to my surprise, he doesn't seem like he's much better than that. The next start at Flemington, well, I rated him up and the market really went for him. And he didn't produce that figure. But I've sort of left him at the 57.5, which is what he did here. Silvera is a 59.5, 59 horse. He resumed, did 57. And then he went to Cranbourne. We tried this before the video. Video didn't work, but what I'll do is I'll just see if I can stop it in parts. He went to Cranbourne. Now, on this night, if you can see up here where it says ImGen, when I click on each horse, it has a comment up here, which is the track bias. So on this night at Cranbourne, I said on pace was 3 pluses, which is a huge advantage. And from the 400, you wanted to be no wider than 2 wide. So really, it was a mad leaders track. This horse was sort of second up. What I'll do, because the video doesn't work, I'll just put it in stop. So he's the grey horse here. He settles midfield. He's in behind him here at the 400, held up. So at the top of the straight, he actually has to come out. He's 4 wide there, so he's in the worst going on the corner 4 wide. But he runs on and gets beat half a length. So I'm saying to myself that, you've run well against the bias there. So today you're 3rd up, you should be fitter. So I've rated him to his best, which is 59. Mar Jones, excuse me. Mar Jones is a funny horse. He won some races 3 preps ago, mainly on sort of soft tracks. And he came back, didn't do anything at all, and then went to Churchura and reduced a huge figure, which he held. Then he had 287 days off, or she did again, and she's fairly consistent, but no star. Last start, she got too far back at Morphettville and ran on okay. So I just sort of left the figure there that she'd done 2 starts ago, which is 56. The Curra is, he ran in the Cranbourne race as well. So he was 3 deep midfield with, with cover and 4 wide. So he was never in the best going either. He had a 2 kilo girl riding in. And he goes to D Dunn. So he'd had, in his previous preps, he'd done better, but sort of early in his preps. And this prep, he had 200 days off. So generally when they've had, more than 180, 190 days off, they've sort of had something wrong with them. The market said 2 starts ago he's going to do 56.5. So I was sort of happy just putting him in at that. Then I just sort of see what it looks like. Hipparchus it's changed stables its last 2 runs, and it's on a 3-day backup, and it's had 2 runs and got beat 8.5 and 11 lengths and hasn't been in the market, so I just put the pen through it. And Spannerhead it's 4th up. It's gone 14, 16, 16, 18. So to me, it looks like maybe a bit of a target race. 2 preps ago, he's done 57, 58 and a half. First up, he did 58. He sort of ran into Group 3, which is out of his class. And then he may have had enough, it was spelled afterwards. He ran in the same race as Silvera, and he's this horse here in the blue with the pale blue sleeves, back 4th last, and he actually covers plenty of ground, so he's hard ridden here at the 500. Can you just see the top of his cap? He's outside the horse in the red and white stripes. Silvera's 3 lengths in front of him. It's hard ridden. Now he's going to be 4 wide from the 450. And remember, this is the track where you want to be in the first 2. He's the widest runner on the corner. And then on the line, so he hits the line really well.
That's a huge run.
Yeah, so he, in that race, Silvera ran his last 200 in 13.36. Spannerhead ran 13.24. So the last 200, Spannerhead ran 1 length quicker than Silvera. He ran quicker last 600, and he ran the same last 400 and a quicker last 200, and he covered more ground. So I thought it was a pretty good run. So he had done 58, 58 and a half. I was sort of happy. John McNeil is flying at the moment. He's a good kid. He's riding well. So I was happy to put this horse in at 57, just thinking it might be just a target race. Balcazar, excuse me, his ratings are a bit all over the place. He won at Pakenham, looked a star, went 57. And then Flemington, he rated down, got back, and then last start he missed the start. I won't show on the video, but he ran on all right, but he gets his head on the side and he sort of does a bit wrong, but I was happy to sort of forgive him slightly. So I improved him slightly off his last run at 56 and a half. So I get a market of basically $13, so $13, $10.50. So say 12 to 1, 12 to 1, 10 to 1, 10 to 1, 11 to 4, 12 to 1, 10 to 1, 15 to 2, and 10 to 1. If we go to the market, let's see.
We've got questions. We've got questions firing in for you, Trev.
Oh, yeah, go on then.
No, we'll wait until you give out the free tip.
I'll just, yeah. If you're going to back this thing now, leave something for me. That's all you got to do. So on the markets here, so you can see second bullet I've improved and got it 12 to 1. It's 5 to 1. So I'm happy not to be on it. Lizard Island I don't really like, and I've got it 12s and it's around $11 and $12. So I may mark it slightly longer because I'm sort of happy not to be on it. Demenza, I've got $10.50, it's $7.50. Quick Defence, I've got $10.50, it's $6. So I sort of don't really want to be on those. Silvera is $3.40, $3.50, and I got $3.70, so I'm sort of nearly on it. Mar Jones, I've got around the mark. The Curragh is slide overs, it's sort of $15, I've got it $10.50. Spannerhead, I've got $8.50, it's $16 at the top. It's going to be a race to the top. And the bottom one I didn't really like. So on that market, I'd like to be on Silvera because I've got it first pick. And then this is sometimes where it becomes a bit of luck. If I can back, in an ideal world, I'd like to back Silvera and then I like to back Spannerhead and the Curragh as well, and then just sort of take the rest of the market from here. But as you can see at the moment, like the market is 126%. So, and I've got it to 100. So, there's sort of, a quarter of the market I'm missing out on. If I changed the market to the same.
Sorry, mate, you'll just have to excuse me. I'm just trying to log into my account.
That's all right. If I did it, I'd have Silvera $2.90. So, it probably is overs.
There you go, guys. There's a race for you in Flemington on Saturday. Now, a question I've got here for you from Paul Evans. Do you allow for perceived track bias in your equations? Well, you've answered that. But do you adjust your ratings after you've watched a couple of races?
Yeah, sort of. I don't want to dodge the question. I hate changing things during the day if you're sort of done. As a general sense, I pretty much know, what the bias is going to be beforehand, because I've sort of walked the track or had someone that I trust walk the track. So so in my initial ratings, the bias goes into it. If the bias was different, a lot of times, generally I would just stop and put a pen through it and then start again. I don't really like to sort of change things on the fly because, I've spent 8, 10 hours, 12 hours doing the form one way, and then, something different happens and you sort of go, oh, well, I'm going to change it in 10 minutes sort of thing. So if it's different and to what I think, generally I just stop and start another day. I mean,
generally, unless it's horrific weather conditions, the track will play pretty true to what it's measured at the start of the day. There's not too many upgrades or downgrades that go on.
No, but it's more so the bias of the track. So,
yep.
If you think, you think it's going to be a leader's, or you think the inside's going to be off, and you back all the wide runners, and then every leader wins. But that, doesn't really happen much. But, it might be more so that, they get a huge downpour and then the track quickly gets downgraded and you've got to go looking for wet trackers. I just prefer to stop and start again. I mean, as punters, really, the only tax you really pay is you're losing bets. So if you can minimise your losing bets, it goes a long way to sort of, having success. So, and you've got to sort of take the ego out of it and all that, and just, and some days you're wrong. Like some days, you just make more perceived mistakes, and things aren't going well, and you sort of look at it and go, I don't know, I've done something wrong here today, and I'm going to stop, and I'll just start again afresh another day.
A question here from Alan, good question. In your ratings, do you penalise jocks that are out of form, e.g. Fred Kersley at the moment? If so, and how much?
Yes, I do. That goes, I've done a lot of, I've played with this a lot as well. So generally it's from jockey to jockey, and if the jockeys, so if it went from a good jockey, say Damien Oliver to Fred Kersley, then I would penalise Fred Kersley. But if Fred Kersley had ridden it the last few starts and the ratings were consistent, well, then I would leave it. They have their ins and outs, and I mean, as anyone will know, that it's been getting the ratings for me. I had a love-hate relationship with Damien Lane, and he's a fantastic rider, but like for a long time there, I just had no luck with him whatsoever. And so it's sometimes what it is. But yeah, I'm sort of big on the jockeys, and more so the more inexperienced jockeys I'm harder on.
We're getting a lot of feedback and a lot of questions in regards to the amount of time that you put in to do the particular form for even just one race. And a question here from Billy: how long does it take from where to go to do the form just for one individual race for you? Because it seems like a lot of detail and you really get into it.
Yeah, well, how long's a piece of string? Some can take, I mean, literally, it's true. I mean, some races with small fields and the map's easy to work out, and you pretty much know the horses and you remember the runs. You might do a race in, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then other races, I mean, there's a couple of races towards the back end, they'll take me like an hour and a half. And generally, the races that take you the longest are the races you finish up avoiding later on anyway, because you're too hard to work out. But I sort of generally I'd probably take an hour a race.
Yep.
And then there's, then the rest of the time you're sort of maintaining everything and all that. So, it's anyone that wants to take it, I just know there's all the $16 is gone. That.
Our boys are quick.
All the I forgot what I was going to say now. I lost my train of thought. I've missed getting on. What was I saying? I'm sorry, I forgot.
That's all good, Trev. We're going to have to wrap it up anyway. First of all, thank you very much for your time tonight. I know I've learned a lot. It's been fantastic getting your insights and strategies, and thanks.
No worries at all. Hope everyone enjoyed it.
And to everyone that tuned in tonight and is listening to it either tomorrow or on YouTube in the future, thanks again for tuning in. I'll be in contact with you within the next couple of days. And for the moment that you've all been waiting for, our winner tonight of the month of Melbourne ratings is Mr. Jason C. So Jason, I will be in contact with you tomorrow. Trev, thanks again. Thanks everyone for tuning in. This bloke, you see what he does, how he goes about it. He's a genius. Get on board. Packages are available at the moment. The subscription's open, and I'll be in contact. Thanks again, Trev.
Great. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Bye.